Well, good morning, you instigating women.
Good morning.
Good
Good,
morning.
good morning. I know we said our topic would be menopause, midlife, all that stuff as it relates to intimacy and sexual health. And so I thought we'd start with pleasure first and then dig into menopause, if you're game.
I trust you.
Okay, that's good. So I can give you the option of going off screen if you like. If you want to have your privacy, you can go off mic if you like, and I'll just guide you through couple minutes of pleasure first. Your choice.
Am I going to stay clothed?
Yes.
Your choice.
Well, again, your choice. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm staying here then.
Okay.
I'm going off screen.
Okay.
Okay. Good. We got two choices. All right. So first, I invite you to settle into your seat and close your eyes. And I would ask you to imagine a tropical island and ocean breezes that are blowing in from the sea. Breathe that breeze in deep and let it flow from your mouth through your body and hold on to its freshness, crispness for 4, 3, 2, and now let that breath out slowly. And just repeat, deep breath in, deep breath out. Breathe that breeze in deep and let it flow from your mouth through your body and hold on to its freshness. And when you're ready, fully exhaled, raise your hand up to your mouth and breathe in and out a few more times, letting that breath touch your hand, touch your skin. And notice, how does that breath feel on your hand? Is it cool? Is it hot? Is it moist? And you can let your hand relax back down to wherever it feels comfortable. And reflect on where might you feel pleasure in your body as you really take in the energy of your breath and then feel your breeze on your skin. No touching your body yet. We'll get to that in a minute. For now, just allow yourself to feel your body getting replenished by your breath coming in at whatever pace you enjoy and breathing it back out. Now you can expand your breaths to include the outside of your arm if you want to raise your arm or the inside of your arm. You can blow your breath onto your arm wherever it feels good, whether it's covered or uncovered. And now that your breath and your skin are awake, I invite you to make some noise. You can release your arm. You can hum. You can or pronounce the sound shh. Whatever you do, just feel the vibrations in your throat and throughout your body. Keep going with those vibrational noises. Notice the vibrations from the top of your head down through your spinal column, into your pelvis and your sit bones, all the way to the bottom of your toes if they reach that far. Now, wherever you enjoy the vibration of this the most, except for your chest and your genital areas at this point, feel free to touch that area by pressing and gliding your hands on those body parts. And if you have a lotion or an oil nearby, feel free to use that too. If not, just imagine that you have some and you're using your hands with oil to expertly rub these enjoyable parts of your body slowly in long strokes. Now, doesn't that feel good? And now, yes, you get to deeply rub your nipples, your genitals if you like. You don't have to. Just whatever part of your body has been patiently waiting that you haven't touched yet. And if you have a vibrator nearby, you may want to get it and start to use a vibrator on that part of your body that's been patiently waiting. Or just pretend and keep humming and feel more vibration throughout, and on your body. And now, since you're really into this adventure, go ahead and picture yourself as a naughty one, secretly pleasuring yourself. If you were in a scene and had on your naughtiest outfit, what would that scene be? Would you be wearing? Who would you be with? What would you be doing? And what might others be doing to you? Feel free to receive all the pleasure that that scene and others offer to you for just a few moments. Keep breathing. Keep vibrating. Keep picturing yourself being pleasured and fully embracing the pleasure. And on the count of 0, the scene will conclude. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And whenever you're ready, come back to this room and we can start our conversation. All right. How are we doing?
Very relaxed.
Good.
Same.
Good.
And
Good.
it does bring up for me how often we go into sex just as we are. Like whatever it is, we just finished dinner, now it's time to go to bed, da 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 da. And we don't take the time to pause and transition into sexy time. And how, we talk about it with work and how transitioning from one meeting to another and taking a breath and being mindful and being present. But I don't think we have normally talked about being mindful and present during sexy time, or even in that transition of sexy time.
In the transition. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Liz?
I echo what Kate said. And for me, like what I focused on was giving myself like massage that because I have a shoulder/neck injury that is from stress right now. And it along with the frenetic pace of life prevents me from getting even into the state where I would want to be intimate. And so that's what I really focused on. And I feel so relaxed now that I feel like I'm now in the state of mind where I would want to be close and
Approached.
intimate. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for, approached.
Yeah.
Because usually I'm like, okay, I need to just be by myself on this bed watching something because I've been needed all day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to escape.
100%.
Yes. And because I knew we wanted to talk about menopause and midlife and all that, this is exactly why I brought forward pleasure first. Because the research shows pleasure must precede desire. So
That
many,
feels like a catch 22.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
like pleasure must precede desire, but you need to desire pleasure. And I feel like menopause is a tricky little bitch that okay, so full disclosure, I am not in menopause hormonally, but I'm taking a drug that tells my brain to stop producing estrogen so that I am in menopause. So like I have hot flashes, I have all the great side effects of menopause. I'm taking this drug because of really heavy periods, anemia. Like there are days in the month where I just like sit on the couch like a blob because I've got like no oomph. And so I am on this drug. This is not a great drug, but it is a helpful drug. I've been on it for 9 months now, but it has caused like now I'm on hormone replacement therapy to get rid of the hot flash. So I don't know.
Cascade.
Yeah. So can we talk about where we are in the menopause journey to kind of see like what we might be experiencing for those who are listening? I think that's helpful.
We can, but let me go through this first.
Okay.
So, pleasure must precede desire. Pleasure can be whatever you want it to be. It does not have to be what we just went through. It does not have to be formal self-pleasuring. It can be just even a few moments of noticing something pleasurable in your environment, giving yourself some good, pleasurable touch. It can be smell, small things. It's that moment of reset, of transition. If you intentionally want to be desiring of something. And again, that's your choice. You may have no desire at all, nor want to go there. That's fine. That's your choice. But if you do, especially with when we use the word menopause, the first thing that comes to mind most of the time is libido. And oh my gosh, my hormones are off. And that can be something. And yet, most of the time, the research shows it's not a hormonal issue most of the time. And only half of medical schools include sexual health in the curriculum. So most of the time, physicians aren't able to understand what else there might be. So that's the only point I'm trying to raise is let's not lock the word menopause with low libido and hormones. There can be a whole lot more going on.
You're creating an epiphany though for me, like because I I have a lot of menopausal experiences right now. But the breakthrough that I'm experiencing in that exercise we just did is that I don't have to define pleasure as sexual pleasure. I can think of it as just something that feels good. And for me, in that moment when you were walking us through that, what I needed to do was just stop and like really lovingly caress and press on that area that feels so pent up and stressful right now. In fact, I almost started massaging my neck with the vibrator,
And
but then
you
I was like,
can.
maybe that's
You
not the
can.
point.
And you can.
That
Okay.
vibrator can do anything it wants. It doesn't have to be used just on one place.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
why they have vibrators that are for other places that you can
Yeah.
also use sparingly and lovingly and not too poundy on other things.
Yes.
But I want to be careful, Gwen, around it's not always hormonal. And I agree. But I do want to be careful because we often get told it is in our head.
Mhm.
And that's not, I want to be sure that that's not the message.
Nope.
You know, we can feel low libido because we've gained weight because of menopause.
Mhm.
We can feel low libido because we are tired because of menopause.
Yep.
We can feel low libido for a lot of things. That doesn't mean that you're crazy. It doesn't mean that it's all in your head. You can feel low libido because your testosterone levels have dropped.
Mhm. Absolutely. It's all
and
that.
and I got a little bit like, when you said it's not always hormonal. It's not always hormonal. But I want to be super clear that we're not telling women it's your fault, it's in your head, all you need to do is X, Y, and Z.
Nope. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. You're leaping ahead and making all kinds of assumptions. And that is absolutely not what I was saying. I'm going based on the research of Emily Nagoski, PhD, who wrote the book Come As You Are. I'm going through, some of the training that I've learned from Jaya and the erotic blueprints. And yes, of course, it can be hormonal. It can be hormonal for any of us, regardless of our gender, at any stage in life. Huge hormonal periods of time are, of course, menopause, but also for men at midlife, which doesn't get discussed very often.
Oh, except for all of the ED ads that are out there.
And yet that's not really hormonal. That can be very vascular and physical.
Sure.
The other big hormonal, time in life is puberty. Hormones are raging and this and that. And yet, no one links that with libido or lack of. And so just putting out there lots and lots and lots of reasons. So Emily also talks about desire, two kinds. Not just the desire that we typically grow up hearing about, which is spontaneous desire, which we see in the movies, and people rush to each other and just, it's just this
There's no foreplay.
emotional click. There's many, especially women, have a different type of desire, which is a responsive desire. And so if a person has responsive desire, it means that their desire always follows. It's a response to something else. And so that's why I say, pleasure first is just a great habit to get into. Pleasure first can give you what you need in the moment, regardless of what it is. And it resets your mind. And if you do have responsive desire rather than spontaneous, it is just then part of the path to get you to that desired state, which you may be seeking. Then, as we get into Jaya's work around the erotic blueprints, there are 4 obstacles to sexual health and pleasure. Again, regardless of your age and stage. And the 4 are physical. So yeah, have you had surgery? Are you at a stage in life where you don't have as much flexibility? Has there been trauma in your life? Physical trauma, sexual trauma, childbirth, scars? Physically in any way. Assess those things. Again, physical obstacles can affect you regardless of your gender, sexual identity, gender identity, or age and stage of life. And then, yes, there is emotional stress, grief. Again, trauma, emotional trauma, lack of self-compassion, lack of finding time for yourself and your pleasure in your life, relationship satisfaction, self-beliefs about your body. Have you gained the weight? Physical is, have you gained weight? But then emotional is, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about your body? Not just the size, but what does it look like today compared to years and years ago? And then your self-beliefs about the ages and stages of life and the value of your life at this point can all be big. Doesn't mean we're
Ask a
crazy.
question.
Yeah. Mhm.
Would cultural messaging and like gender messaging fit
Absolutely.
into the emotional
Yes.
obstacles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Society,
Okay.
societal norms,
Okay.
societal beliefs, self-beliefs, and societal beliefs about where you are at this stage of your life. Then there is biochemical, which includes the hormones, but it also includes what medicines are you taking? What supplements are you taking? What cleaning supplies are you using in your home or around the workplace if you do go to other places for work? What pesticides are in your environment? It can also include hair dye. It can include the vaporized oils. Those can all impact how we feel and how we show up and whether we have energy or lethargic in any way besides libido, but including. And then energetic is the fourth. And that's harder to really define, but just general energy fields. And do you get different vibes when you go into a room, depending on who's there? You may or you may not, but you might have trouble falling asleep from being on a computer too long or on your phone too long. You may have EMF or electromagnetic field sensitivity. Like if the TV is turned off or your computer's turned off, you may still get a staticky feeling. Again, you may not, but some people do, and they don't realize they do unless they go through this checklist, or they may and think it's normal for everyone, and it can be an obstacle to great sex and to a libido and to moving forward, however we want to, as a sexual human being. So I will conclude with menopause is like any other stage of life. This one is known for hormonal swings and physical changes, just like puberty. Yet puberty has different things that we focus on. And so when we discuss menopause, healthy reflections about ourselves and this stage include all the four areas. And also, what do we think of when we hear the word menopause? What do our cultures and society norms tell us about menopause and postmenopausal women? What is their value to society, generally thought of based on what we have heard our whole lives? And do we want to buy into these societal norms and self beliefs? So I will stop there. My goal was to take a step back and start big, but then go into, yeah. What do you think about this? What are your experiences with this? What are you experiencing in this stage of life? And what do you want to talk about with respect to menopause or anything else?
Go, Kate.
No, please, Liz.
Well, you like dropped a little preview because you said that you were like experimenting with something and then it was
Ah,
successful. So I need to hear about this, girl.
so with respect to menopause and libido, let me just kind of share my lived experience. I think I've mentioned on the pod in the past, we use lubrication. And before it was like probably not necessary. But when I started taking this drug, it became super necessary because vaginal dryness, pain, not good stuff, right? And there's nothing that can take me out of a state of pleasure than that hurts. So I think that's the first thing that we experienced. And then just a general, like, I went from a pretty high libido to a libido that just kind of evaporated. And I think the hardest part about that is walking around and not realizing that something's gone away, right? It's the absence of something. And then having the talk of like, oh, it's been a few weeks since we've made love, had sex, whatever, sex attack. It's been a few weeks. Ooh, we should really get back to that. And agreeing, yes, we should really get back to that. But also being like, kind of meh inside about it.
Mm-hmm.
And just having that black and white difference. So I am someone who, with a glass of wine, lowers my inhibitions, makes me more ready. I'm also someone who is trying not to drink. Not because drinking is, not fun and enjoyable at certain points in time, but that didn't, it doesn't necessarily sit well with me to be like, okay, well, I got to have a glass of wine before I can have sex with you. That didn't feel good. And also I'm susceptible to dementia. So I'm actually trying not to drink. So, that didn't gel well with me, but it did work. It was something that worked. So I went on testosterone cream and had, kept upping the dose to the point where I think I was at, it's a compounded medicine, which means that it's not cheap. And I have to rub it on the insides of my thighs every day. And be careful about like putting on clothes afterwards and touching things afterwards, blah, 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 blah. And the amount of cream I was having to rub on my body became a little bit like, oh.
Did you do it in a pleasure first way?
No, I didn't, because I was like, this is toxic to everyone around me. So I just like, and you can rub it on your genitals and that sort of thing, but it just didn't feel like, I don't know. It didn't feel good. And it also like, you're supposed to do it in the morning, because if you have sex at night, blah, 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 you don't want him to be near it. And I was inside of my thighs, which is where I wanted him to be near. So blah, 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 blah. So I actually stopped taking that, and I've requested from my naturopath, who I get my hormone replacement therapy from, to use a male testosterone replacement, because you can use a lot less. And we're still in conversation about that. I'm going to my gynecologist next week, and we're going to be in conversation about this, because it's not FDA approved for females, but neither is any other testosterone, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little frustrated with that response. So anyway, I went to the internet. Actually, I think, Gwen, this was advertised through the Erotic Freedom Club, and which is the platform associated with Gwen's coaching. Mm-hmm. And I bought these things. They're called Sex Magic Mood Plant Activated Elixir Dietary Supplement. Oh, and I've also tried like other drinks. Recess has a drink that's supposed to calm you, and that doesn't necessarily work, but it does fill up my bladder, which does kind of help, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so tried this on Saturday, and Tom made it for me, and he took a little sip, and he's like, whoa. Which, the fact that he took a little sip, like, cracked me up. It is nasty tasting.
Oh, no.
It's medicinal tasting. And you have to drink 8 ounces of it. And I was like, I'm not having another one of these if this doesn't work. And I was very cautiously like, this is not going to work. But fucking 45 minutes later,
hey,
I was interested.
Okay.
So now, I mean, that first try, right? So we're going to try again, test it again. It's now in Portland, and it's in California, which is the 2 places I live. And I'll keep you updated on the continuing saga. But I was super surprised. I was like, if there was a plant that could do this, we would have been like, it would be in the water by now.
Hey, whatever works.
So just super, like, I don't know, excited about something that is natural, again, doesn't taste great, but whatever, and produces results. And I can think about, Gwen, with your pleasure first and this, how that might combine into, I don't necessarily need to be watching a show, which is what we were doing. We were watching a movie before I do this, right? We could be experiencing pleasure first, or I could be experiencing pleasure first, or whatever. and just make it a much more enjoyable, probably, increase my results exponentially into it. So that's what I wanted to kind of share, is that, experimenting with what works for you. Testosterone for a lot of people absolutely works.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't, I don't think I had enough to replace what I lost, because I had pretty high testosterone before. And so I don't think that I was getting enough in my compounding to make a difference. But we'll see if I get this other stuff prescribed to me, what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got your next steps and lists, and we know how this has been affecting you.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, what about you?
I'm just contemplating hearing that story about how we are all so different, and that the idea, both the experience of intimacy at every stage, but particularly for me, because that's what I care about in middle age, is so individual, but that's not how culture, treats it. And so that, as I was just listening to Kate's story, I was thinking about that, about how really I need to be on my own pathway to figure out what I want, what feels good, what works to overcome whatever obstacles I have, and how much, listening to your 4 types of obstacles, how much our individual lived experiences informs what we're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And never mind, right, that our partner has a whole other set of those things.
Right.
I feel like I could talk about my experiences and my own kind of obstacles in like 5 episodes, over the course of 5 episodes, like really. But I will just, for today, I'll say that the physical changes that have occurred for me in the last 2 years, both in my, I think, my biochemistry, and my biochemistry because of, you named all of it, Gwen, like losing my mom, having my children become of like sexually mature age, and then just the changes in my own body. I had a big surgery that had huge complications, right? And that really impacted me. I'm now on these medications forever that, could be impacting my desire. It's just really fascinating. I'm really interested in continuing this conversation. Uh, this is like the first time that I've even brought this thing out, and I was just laughing when I went to look for it when you told us to go get, whatever supplies we have. Do you know where I keep it?
Oh,
Inside
no
a
privacy.
book.
I have no privacy.
Up top in like a dictionary in the library.
That would be a much more elaborate.
I'm thinking inside
strategy.
a toilet roll in the bathroom somewhere.
It's because I told you my kids like snoop around all the time for whatever reason. So my bottom drawer of my nightstand is like all the Mother's Day cards and birthday cards that they've ever given me, which we know they don't give a right about now. The minute they give it to me, like it's lost to them.
Done.
So it's underneath a pile this big of Mother's Day cards. I know they'll never look there.
What you brought up for me, Liz, was, you're talking about your unique journey. Mm-hmm. And what occurred to me was I was comparing my past to my current. Mm-hmm. It used to be like this. And so I've had to kind of let go of a lot of that, because how I experience pleasure, how I reached orgasm is now different than it used to be. And that can be really scary, because you can be like, wait a minute, where'd my O go? Where did it go? And how do I find it?
Oh my God, I love
I'm one of
your
those lucky people
language.
who could find the O and then it didn't went
Yeah.
away. And so,
Yeah.
just understanding your journey of like, it used to be like that and it's okay that it's not like that. I get the experimentation of what is all in my stuff now to go and figure out what that new area of pleasure is.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
And you can find the O in new ways now. In different doesn't need to mean bad,
Right.
worse,
It
plus.
doesn't need to be a mourn. Yeah.
It
But it
doesn't.
often does feel like that though, because
It's change.
it's changed and it's changed without my volition.
Right. And there was pride before, and now
Yeah.
it's like
Or just ease.
ease, and now there's
Yeah. Now there's like work.
yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that I think detracts from it as well, because
Mhm.
when it used to be easy and now there's work, that's no fun. I have less energy for work than I used to have. But I think approaching it with the right mindset is incredibly important. That
Mhm.
idea of, okay, it's changed, it's still there. I got to believe
Mhm.
that and I got to go, explore and search.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I can pick up there because I always had a good sex life. Talked about that. My husband has a different sexual blueprint than I do. Um, but last decade or so, super busy with work, super busy with kids growing up. Liz totally get it. Kate's had that too with the stepkids, and things just don't become as a high priority. Sex was just not a high priority for me. Am I in menopause? I don't even know because I've had IUDs for a long, long time, and they're the hormone IUDs. And I have a female gynecologist who specializes in this who've said just keep using them. The hormones are good for some people to help
Mhm.
level out the hormones and minimize menopause signs and symptoms. So it's frustrating for me when I read, how do you know if you're in menopause? Well, you haven't had menses for this amount of time. And like, I haven't had a period in forever. And my hormones seem to be leveled off by this IUD. I'm 54, 54 and a half almost. I just don't know. But what I do know is, yeah, there was a long time where I didn't have as much desire as normal. But I think a lot of that was just because I wasn't prioritizing this. I also did not know about responsive desire. I also did not recognize pleasure first can boost desire, and that I probably needed that. My husband, no doubt, is more the simultaneous or spontaneous desire, typical, look at something, get jacked up and, ready to go. That's not me. Never has been, but I didn't know until going through all this that it was normal. We're all normal if we need to think about pleasure first, and if we then are responsive, needing a little bit more intention. And yeah, Kate, I hear you loud and clear. I try not to think about this as work and instead try to think about, how do I become intentional about realizing how fun this can be and how pleasurable this can be, and it's just not another thing. But what I had also were the night sweats. Ugh, I didn't have it as much during the day, but the night sweats for sure.
Yeah.
And so, what do I attribute that to? Of course, it's pre, post something. But I just had to start looking at that as another physical thing. It's night sweats. Okay. So, what can you do about that? You can limit your alcohol. Alcohol has been shown to contribute to night sweats. But then also looking into how do we outfit the bed so that that's not such a big deal. And so through these classes, I learned about the Liberator Fascinator, which is a little blankie that you can put on the bed and sleep on, and it will absorb all kinds of liquid and night sweats. Then also, if you do have sex, it absorbs all those fluids and it doesn't get you all sticky. Liz said last time she didn't like that sticky feeling. So there are things that we can do to optimize our chances of having good sex, even during menopause.
I'll add another product onto this because I started with night sweats before I went onto this bad drug. It's a fine drug, and I think it was hormonal weight gain plus alcohol. I think it was that combination. Weight loss helped, lower alcohol helps. And then I went onto this drug, and so then I started with the night sweats, and I'm on norethindrone 5 milligrams, which is a progesterone, which causes weight gain, which is great. It's like this like cycle, but in the meantime, we purchased a thing called 8 Sleep Pod, and it lowers. It's a basically a mattress cover hooked to a water vessel and a computer that regulates the temperature of the bed. So Tom can be, a hotter sleeper than I am and have his side of the bed be at 73, and I can be cooler and I can lower mine down to 64 or whatever. And that's been super helpful for both him and I. And it's lowered our air conditioning bills in the summertime and lowered our heat bills in the wintertime, because you just don't need to have as much heat on when your bed's cooling or heating you. And that really, really helped with night sweats, because I was automatically lower. And then if I do feel one coming on, I feel hot, I can tap the bed and it actually lowers the temperature. If I tap it twice, it lowers it. If I tap it 3 times, it jacks it up. So that's been a great thing. It is not inexpensive, but I've had it for like 3 years now, and it's been really great.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. Sleep Number also has this attachment. You can add Sleep Number beds to do the same thing with the hot and the cool, and
Yeah.
done that too. Huge, huge, huge improvement.
Yeah.
And yes, weight gain was another one of my things. I mean, I can gain 20 pounds in a, nanosecond. So yes, all frustrating. And yet physical, how do we continue to use our health well-being coaching to learn how to eat, how to drink, what we're putting in our bodies?
Yep. Well, and compassion to say, this is the body that that carries me around.
Yeah.
And it is not the same body that I had when I was 20. It's also not the same brain that I had when I was 20, thank God. And because I was thinking some weirdo stuff back then. And it really helps when you have a partner that celebrates the body that you have.
Exactly.
So if that's not in your life, then yeah, your libido is pretty low, because there's nothing you can do. I mean, we just expand, right? And I look at folks on Instagram and I'm like, well, that person's my age and she hasn't expanded, but she's got different genes than I do.
Or maybe she's changed her picture online.
That's true too. Or
There
maybe
might
she
be
runs
underneath that you don't see.
or she runs 25 miles a day for 5 days a week, which is one of the people that I follow. So just realizing my lived experience and how I can, and just being grateful for my partner who continues to show up and celebrate me for who I am.
And so let's end there. The partner's critical. The partners generally are going through similar life stages with you. If the partner has kind of gotten into a rut and been there, done that, and it's going to affect yourself as well. If we have no partner and we haven't treated ourselves well, or if we don't take the time to give ourselves compassion or self-pleasure, it's not menopause. It's just you're not doing what you need to be doing at this stage of your life to create desire and libido and energy and excitement about this topic.
Next time, can we talk about some of the environmental obstacles and how to deal with those?
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, it's not going to resonate for everybody, but I'm sure that there are lots of people out there with a house full of creatures, be they furry or not furry.
Mhm.
And I feel like that is a huge component for me right now. Like even if I can isolate myself, just knowing that there are people in the house, like, is it's an obstacle. So I'd love to talk about that next time if we can.
Yeah, happy
Yeah.
to. Good.
Okay.
Any other thoughts from today or next times?
Nope.
All right. Thank you both.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. There's just like a million
Thank you.
epiphanies going off in my head.
Good. That's the goal. See you next time.
All right. Talk soon.